So you must be able to manage that shift professionally and be equally, involved in the issue. You can't say, no, I will not work here. I will not work in this department. Yeah, people do that. They've been given a department. They try to get out of it and try to look for another department. But the point is, we have to learn to manage change. And that is what transformation is.
Hello everyone, welcome back to yet another interesting session with Dr. Sharma today. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you. Good morning to you.
Good morning, sir. So we have a different topic to talk about today, sir. And we'll delve into a little more detail. So we have talked about the departments, various workings in the departments. We've talked about various perks, salaries, a lot of detail we did in our last session about the perks and all. Today, looking for more insights from you related to one very, very important aspect that students consider is related to the transfers that are there in the job.
Hey.
So, as you know, we know that's a fact that, any government job, including jobs with RBI or regulatory bodies, do have an element of transfers associated with it.
Right,
you can be transferred anywhere in India, right? Which, sometimes is exciting for some. For some, it is like very daunting. Will it be easy or difficult? So with you, looking for some insights, how it has been with you and how does it happen? So my first question is, how do transfers take place? Like, is it time-based that you have to be transferred after, say, 4 years, 5 years? Or there are other elements that go into it?
So firstly, when you join the Reserve Bank, you should be mentally prepared that transfers are going to be a part of your career. And over a period of time, maybe 30 to 40 years that you would be in the Reserve Bank, you would be getting transfers at irregular or irregular intervals. So you really cannot plan it so clearly. Now your question is whether they happen in a structured manner.
Right.
So a lot depends on where you are working, where you have been transferred. So we can divide RBI centers into 3 broad categories. So you have the metros and the mini metros, Bombay, Delhi, Calcutta, and Chennai. And Bangalore and Ahmedabad, you can club them as together. Then you have the centers like Nagpur, and you have Lucknow, and you have Kanpur, Trivandrum. These are the mid-sized centers. Hyderabad, right?
Right.
Oh, Hyderabad, I would rather club with Ahmedabad, that category.
Right.
And then the third set is the new centers which have come. Because initially, when we had joined the RBI, there were only about 18 offices of RBI. But as the states expanded and each state was created by 2000 or so, then each center demanded a Reserve Bank. So as a result, the example is Assam, where you had only one office, Guwahati, which was taking care of the 7 sisters. But now we have an office in every state. So that is the third category, where the staff will be less, city will be smaller, facilities may not be that good. So that's the 3 centers. Now, if you are in a metro like Mumbai, you can consider yourself to be lucky in a sense. There's more stability. So normally at entry-level points, easily 10 to 15 years you can be in one center. They will not disturb you. If you're in a high-demand center like Delhi, then if you can be there for 3 years, you should be happy because There are many people wanting to come to Delhi, and so you may be moved out after 3 to 4 years. That solves them. Mid-sized centers, you can expect to be there for 5 years.
Right.
So that's how it happens. Now I remember initially when you have to take a call whether you want to be in a center like Mumbai in the first tenure. I mean, of course, it's not in your hands, but if you get posted for this,
Okay.
so if you get posted there to Mumbai as a youngster who's still unmarried,
Right.
so you don't have many liabilities. And you don't mind roughing it in a train, staying far away, going back late. Or you can see it from another perspective that, I'd rather come to Bombay when I'm much senior so that I can be in a more settled location. And children would have grown up by that time, family would have settled. So you can devote more time to central office work. So that's how the transfers operate. I remember in my case, my first posting was Guwahati. And in those days, it was for 2 years only. It was a fixed transfer of 2 years. However, since it was my first posting, it was interpreted as it is not. I haven't come on transfer, so it's a direct posting. And therefore, 2-year term will not apply.
Okay.
So I could stay for longer. And sure enough, I spent 3 years there. And after that, I came to Ahmedabad transfer, right, to the other extreme end of
from east to west, you went.
east to extreme west,
West.
where I stayed for a good 7 years.
Right.
And then I went back to Calcutta, again back to east. I could stay there for a good 7 years.
Right.
So that's how it happens. Once you were in Bombay, I stayed in Mumbai for a good 10 years. Yeah.
Yes.
So it depends,
So not necessarily a fixed tenure, but they could range from 5 to 10
Absolutely.
years,
5
depending
to 10
on
years.
Yeah.
And also sometimes your need. Supposing you want to change your transfer for some personal reason, that could be considered.
Good. So, in between, you had mentioned a very interesting point. A person may want to work in a certain location in the beginning of the career or later on the career, but it may not be your choice to choose where you want to be transferred,
Yes.
right? So, if a transfer notice does come in, is it like an order? You have to follow it, or is there a choice? I keep hearing as an outsider, I see this that a person may say, "Okay, I will not take the promotion. Don't transfer me." So, is that a possibility that you have a choice?
Well, it's a little. There's no straight answer to that.
Okay.
So transfers, it's an order. Let's accept it. It's an order. And it's a part of your job. And upfront, you have to be told about it. Question is what time it comes. So the normal transfers happen somewhere in, say, March, April, which is okay. So if you're disturbing your family, then it's okay at that time. Sometimes they can come midway. At that point, you're not too sure whether, that is the right time to move, because quite possibly your child would have completed 3/4 in a class. And he or she would be in a particular board. And now at this point, you don't want to change, for at least let the child finish. That could be one reason. So it could be deferred. You could ask, you could make a request saying they kindly defer it by 6 months or a year, depending on the kind of case you make out. And that is considered. If there is a good claim in your case, you have a robust claim giving a reason why you want your transfer to be stopped or deferred, it could be considered. But if it's on the routine grounds that my parents are old and so I need to be with them, everybody's parents will be old by that. It's the fact of it, really. Take it very kindly.
So those are the realities of life. So they cannot become the main points.
Yeah.
Okay. So So how does one manage that change? Or you can say how
Yeah.
one does manage the transfer. And maybe we can touch on both aspects, professionally and personally. So we can first start with the personal that will bring in a little comfort, and then we also move on to the professional part.
So that was a good word you used, change. It's transfers help you manage change. You learn how to manage change because transfer is a physical movement and a mental movement. You are physically and mentally uprooting from one end and going and establishing yourself at the other. So, as you know, RBI transfers are interstate. So, therefore, you are moving from one culture to another culture, one language to another language, one educational board to another educational board. So, you got to manage change. And when you say you got to manage change, the you includes your family also. They also have to change with you. And they will say, for no reason, why are you making us, it's your transfer. So I remember when I could transfer from Delhi to Mumbai. So both my children were very upset and they said, we don't want to go to Mumbai. We are happy here. We'll stay on our own here. We don't want to go. Because they were in the CBSE board here. They have to do an ICSE in Mumbai. So it does impact your family. That's one thing. But the second is, when you go, you may be in a comfort zone. You may have worked in a department. You may be in central office, for example. You may be calling the shots. And you have been transferred to a regional office where you would be at the receiving end. In the sense that the central office would ask you to, you have to implement. Right?
Implementation,
So mentally you were on a high horse, and now you come and you have been perhaps, it happens with people that they tend to take their positions very seriously.
Right.
And you may have rubbed people on the wrong side in a regional office. And now when you go there, so it's their turn. Okay, now you are on this side and, you're at the receiving end. So you must be able to manage that shift professionally and be equally, involved in the region. You can't say, no, I will not work here. I will not work in this department. Yeah, people do that. They've been given a department. They try to get out of it and try to look for another department. But the point is, we have to learn to manage change. And that is what transformation is.
That's a very nice outlook towards it. Because if I say, the first reaction towards transfers in general, which I have noticed from coming from students or anybody I talk is, usually we take it in a negative connotation, as you said, you use the word you, uprooting me. I have to again start everything. But it's very important to look in that light. It's about helping us change and manage that change, because that's one constant, as we say, change is the only constant. So I
Absolutely.
guess that's it. And, in fact, there's when you were talking about the professional part, that maybe if you're moving from the head office to the regional offices, you may move to the execution aspect more than the policy aspect. But that reminded me another conversation we had, sometime back with Alpana ma'am. She was the communications head at RBI for almost 26 years. So she very beautifully explained the role any person is playing at RBI, because generally we go with the thought that, we'll join RBI and we'll be into policy making. And that's true, of course. But it's very equally important, the execution part of that policy.
Nice.
Right. So we, as RBI employees, everybody is playing a role in either aspect. You could also be in policy making. You would also be there at some point in the execution, the implementation of that policy. So I think being cognizant of that and understanding the importance of both is very important to take you ahead, and that may help to manage that change mentally.
Very well said.
When it goes through. So Right. So, how many transfers have you faced in your career with RBI?
Oh, so in 32 odd years, I have seen Guwahati, Calcutta, Delhi, Bombay,
Ahmedabad.
Raipur, Ahmedabad, and Delhi again. Seven centers I have moved in these 30 odd years. And every time it was a new experience. I mean,
Right.
I was personally, I like to see change. I get stagnated. I feel stagnated if I stay in a place for more than X number of years. 5 years is more than sufficient, you know. So it's always exciting to go to a new place, see new people, meet see a new culture, learn something from there. Work cultures vary, you know, the kind of work culture we have in city X will be very different from city Y. Mumbai is full of energy, you know.
Right.
But whereas regional offices, you will not find that energy. The energy levels will be lower there. But then it's a different ball game altogether. People talk of work-life balance, for example. I'm bringing in this point here. Now,
Okay. That's another animal to
because
handle.
that's a very difficult animal because whether the animal exists, oh yes, it does, in a sense. But the point is, what is work-life balance? You see, your family life, your personal life, and your professional life, there are two compartments. Both of them interact at some point. There is an intersection. The
Right.
intersection can be beneficial and positive, but the intersection could become an interference. So sometimes your personal life will interfere with your professional life. And sometimes your professional life interferes with your personal life. How to strike the balance? That is up to you now. You have to maintain the balance. The balance cannot be like, well balanced center, but it could be tilting up and down, and occasionally there will be tilts. But what you must see is overall, how has the work-life balance been? And I would say that in RBI, you're able to manage that.
Right.
Sometimes you work.
I'll bring in one point here. So when you said, the overall framework, you get a good work-life balance. So what I'm taking from that, and you may correct me if I'm wrong in that, when we talk about work-life balance, it's not like an everyday thing. Right? There would be periods of where your family needs you more. There will be times where your work needs you more. And overall, you strike a balance. But on an everyday basis, I think that's something that may not hold. Am I right?
No, you're right. You cannot have work-life balance on a day-to-day basis. So the work-life balance has to be seen in a broader overall context and in a larger framework. And I would say that your officers are very accommodating. So when it comes to your work interfering with family, sometimes they make adjustments for you. It can't be on an everyday basis, but yes, personal needs are taken care of. They are factored in sometimes. You want to go early sometimes. You want to come late sometimes. Sometimes you're sitting late. Sometimes you can go in time. Sometimes, there is more work, sometimes there is less work. So end of the day, when you see, and okay, this month has been good, you can, review and say, have had a very lucky month. I've been able to enjoy my work, and work-life balance has been good. Sometimes you may feel stressed and say, oh, next 2 months are going to be bad. I have a lot of work on hand, and it may be at the cost of giving less quality time to my family. But that is a trade-off you will have to take at some point. You cannot stop working always. And I think RBI families are very generous, and they do understand the constraints and the limitations within which their officers operate, their own family members. So I think it's been a good experience that I've had Oh, there have been times when I've gone on inspections and my wife is alone with the kids, small kids, and they've fallen sick and she has to manage it all alone. And when we look back, and sometimes she says, I wonder how I did it. You were not there at that time.
Yeah.
But I also remember, like, we had a boss, very nice lady. I remember Mrs. Udeshi. She was my general manager. And once I felt sick. I'd gone on an inspection. I felt sick. And she rang up when people told her that, man, he's not well. She said, put him in a bus and send him back. Because I don't want my office to be working when he's not well. And we were in touch, somewhere in touch, Bhuj. And not only did she call me back, but in the evening, she came with the thermos with hot soup, which is a very good, it encourages you and it makes you work even better. That you have such people who care for you. You learn from them.
So that brings me to another very interesting question I may ask here. And you may choose to not answer if you think it's too personal. Sometimes we feel, RBI, of course, it can sometimes be overwhelming. Of course, it's a knowledge organization, learning organization, and, one of the highest knowledge organizations in our country. So I may be imagining, walking in, it will be all work, serious people, no fun going around. So is that what an image insight would be like working in RBI? There's no fun. People just come, they work, they interact, they share knowledge, and then they go back.
I don't think we can really categorize it in any organization in this straitjacket. Because yes, when we come to work. But it's not, and there are days when you're just working. You've not had the time. You have a personal agenda written down that I got to do during lunchtime. I have to go to the bank or to the society to withdraw money or to deposit a check. You will just forget it. But there are days when you've done your good work in the first half and you tell your team, come on, let's go out and have lunch together. And there are, lovely restaurants, at least in Mumbai, in the Fort area. So you just tell somebody we're going out and we'll be back in an hour during lunchtime. But in case there is an emergency, let us know. We can be contacted here. So it works both ways. You work hard. You have no time to enjoy. But there are days where you enjoy your work and enjoy otherwise also.
Okay. So coming back to transfers, one last question we'll take up before we end the session for today. I'm coming back to transfers. When we are mostly talking about transfers, we're talking about moving from one place to another, one state to another. But what about transfers, handling transfers when you're changing your work area? Because your departments also change. Yeah. So how does that manage that change in the work? Because you may be new to that profile. You may not know how that particular department works and what all is needed. So how is that managed? And is that also very difficult or a choice at all when one is moved from one department to the other?
See, each one of us develops a comfort zone.
Hello.
So if I've been posted to regulatory department in Mumbai, say, and I worked there for 10 years in regulation, and then I come on transfer to a smaller center where I've been asked to look after issue, the first, reaction would be of disappointment because you are used to policy making. You have been, in touch with the powers that be, the banks, the heads of the banks. They're important. And you feel that handling currency issues, it's tedious, it's risky. It's to get the work done from others now. Now you're in a different team. So that's again change management, and you have to switch over your role. You must have a switch, a mental switch here, which you switch off from one and switch on for the other. It does help. And we all have done it. We all have done it. We work in both the policy departments and regional offices, and each one has its own charm. So it's the question of acceptability. Once you accept a change, then wherever you are posted, you will find pleasure in that. You have, when I teach sometimes, one of the, in communication, there are those 9 C's of communication.
Right.
And one of them is creativity. Now, it depends how, and creativity, I don't mean creativity in the artistry sense. But more as something maybe out of the box thinking, lateral thinking. How can you bring that creativity in this new department? So you were straitjacketed in one particular desk all this while, and now you are in a different area altogether. How can you add value to this new desk? That's your challenge. And that's what you're going to enjoy.
True. Solid. Very interesting take. I think what I have taken is change management. I think we can look a very nice way to look at the word transfers. Very beautiful look at it that, it's all about managing the change. Either it's in place or in work or with people. And once we accept and look forward to it, I'm sure it's going to be as easy as any other task that you take up. So becoming an RBI Grade B officer in itself is a task that you've taken. You've decided to go for that dream, and every step ahead would be worth it, I'm sure. So thank you again, sir.
So there are two kinds of change. Now when you talk of change, there are two kinds of change in RBI. One is change is the only constant that you spoke about.
Yes.
Or the other is the change in your pocket.
Right. So that's a very important part. You get that
Yes.
also. So, and that I'm sure will help you accept that change even better. So
Right.
thank you so much, sir, for
Thank you so much.
another great session and all the insights that you've given today.
Oh, it's always nice to be here talking to you and sharing this experience on this platform. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.